So, hi, this is me, Trina Kavanagh-Thomas. I'm a body and mindset business coach, helping business women like yourself unlock your physical and emotional well-being so you're able to stop the balancing act and show up and attract clients. So, today, this is our social media switch-off interviews, and we have the amazing Sarah Stones with me today. Now, Sarah Stone helps you to increase and improve your motivation and unlock your hidden potential. So that's with plain sailing motivation. Plain sailing motivation is amazing. It is amazing. I've even tried the fabulous motivational map. And the motivational map, for those that don't know what it is a quiz. And you fill in the quiz and it helps you find out what your motivators are. So if you're struggling with your motivation, this is a lady you need to be speaking to. And I've said to you already that I am wholeheartedly thinking of actually, adding this as an addition, that motivational mapping tool, as an addition to my one-to-one work, because I think it's absolutely fabulous.
So what was it that it taught you, Trina?
So for me, it was finding out and having a direct, yes, that's who you are. And what actually motivates me to drive me forward. And we obviously established that I am literally a spirit. So we'll go through this as well, which, what are the actual motivators that we all have. But for me, it was noticing that I am the spirit motivator, and I like to go with how I feel, and how I feel is like a beautiful driver for me. And the next one for me was a seeker, wasn't it, or a searcher?
Right? Which is all about making a difference for other people.
Absolutely. And even when I did it, I kind of realized, wow, I know what makes me happy. I even spoke about this with someone today, and they were like, wow, you've literally envisioned, but not just envisioned, you can see your whole purpose as you're going through, and everything's kind of going the way you want it to because you're following what you need. And for me, that is so true, because that's what came out in my motivators.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I had exactly the same experience when I did a motivational map, probably 6 years ago now, and that's why I took the route that I'm now become a motivation specialist, because my background is HR. So, and please don't hold that against me. I'd always loved basically looking at people's strengths and enabling other people to shine, whether it's supporting people with job hunting, with finding out who they are and what they want to be, whether it's supporting people as I am now, who have maybe been made redundant and are actually using that opportunity to really explore what they want to do next. I don't know about you, but I think there's a lot of people during lockdown have had the time to just go, oh, now, what is it? What do I want from life? And so, and when I did my motivational map, it suddenly made sense of why I used to go into a new role full of like, oh my goodness, we need to change this, we need to look at this, how can I solve this problem? And then after a couple of years, I'd be going, am I in the right job? What's going on here? And it's because one of my key motivators is all around problem solving and innovation. And actually, I'd done an awful lot of that in the first 2 years. And then basically I'd be feeling bored. And it just to have that recognition of why that was happening was so important for me. And the same, so my top motivator is the searcher, which is all about having meaning and making a difference. Well, actually, 5 years ago, I went through treatment for breast cancer, and the first thing I did when I sort of got over the initial shock was I started doing some fundraising. Well, now I know why, because actually focusing on fundraising, even though I was in such a difficult time, actually motivated me and kept me on that positive side right through my treatment. And now I know why, but actually I was just doing that anyway. And through lockdown, I've been running free webinars for parents on understanding and supporting their children with motivation. And actually, again, yes, it's been part of my business, but actually making a difference for those parents was how I've got through lockdown and felt that I've been really contributing to supporting others.
Wow. And that is the beauty. That, I mean, you've just said it wholeheartedly there. That is the whole beauty of doing something like this, of just taking that time to, to get a motivational map and to fill it in, and then to realize, wow, that's why you did certain things in the first place. That's why you were so motivated and driving forward. Like as we had our discussion yesterday, wasn't it? Where I was saying about, how I like going with the flow and knowing what I want and going for that, and really just going with what I want and feeling out for what I want. And that is wholeheartedly spirit.
It's about the spirit motivator. It's all about freedom and independence and doing what you want to do when you want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And now I realise that if I'm controlled, or if I feel like I've been pushed back into a corner, and I know some people who are watching this will feel the exact same way. When lockdown came in, I felt like I was kind of like stifled in one place. When we've been told to do things, we sometimes feel as if we've been like pushed back. Don't you think so? And then you kind of have this fight, but you don't know what this fight is all about. You have this fight with yourself, almost like you feel anxious about doing the right thing. You feel maybe depressed of all the old times that maybe have gone by, not realizing that is not who you are. The person who you are is the person who is the free spirit, who actually wants to get out, make your own mistakes, and then and then come out flourishing.
And actually, our motivators have affected how we've gone through lockdown and how we're adjusting to the new normal. So if I just sort of backtrack a bit, because it's really important to understand that we've all got 9 different motivators. And some people have quite a few that are really strong, and that means that people need variety in what they do. For other people, they've got 2 or 3 really strong motivators. And if those aren't being met, then it's like, oh, I'm fed up, but I don't quite know why.
Yeah.
And actually, the 9 motivators, which are all outlined on my website, really, they fall into 3 different categories, and that's relationships, achievement, and growth. And actually, depending on where your strongest motivators lie, it may be that they work together really well, but it may be that you've got motivators in all 3 areas. And some of the motivators don't actually work that well together. So, for example, in my top 3, I've got the need for security and stability. If you imagine an oak tree, that's sort of that motivator. It's, I know where my comfort zone is, and I don't want to come out of that. Whereas the creator and the spirit is like, I just want to be going off and doing lots of new things. And actually having both of those in the top 3, then actually you get procrastination, because half of you wants to stay safe and the other half wants to go off and do all of these shiny, bright new things. And so actually the understanding that you get from that is actually, that is going to happen. So what can I do to support myself with that?
That's amazing. And that's the thing, because I think my top 3 were, that was it, spirit, seeker, and director, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And director was one of the other ones, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the director is all about loving responsibility and being in charge. And within that group, there's also the builder motivator, which is all about competition and actually having nice things and being able to achieve targets. And the other one is about learning and development and loving lots of learning. And the impact of those motivators is huge, because if we love learning, actually, if we've got a member of our team at work or one of your children loves learning, then actually you can make sure that you're giving them the right opportunities to keep them motivated. And people that love learning generally love teaching others as well. So they are brilliant mentors, and I love having a mentor as well. So being a mentor, doing it both ways. And actually people with really strong learning and development motivators, which is called the expert, often I find that they never believe that they know enough. So there's that just never quite believing in themselves and always wanting to learn. And actually that can hold them back, because they can know so much but not have that belief in themselves.
Wow. So then what would you do? What would you say for those people who have lower motivators, but you know, it's almost like that kind of, you've obviously got strong motivators, but how do you make use of the the weaker motivators, so to speak?
So that's a really interesting question, because actually what's really important is actually finding out, what do you want to achieve? What are your values? And what are we aiming for? And actually, do those motivators support you in that goal? And if they don't, it's about checking, is that goal really the right one for you? And that's what I do when I'm coaching. It's about supporting people to discover their values and their beliefs, and actually what do you want to achieve. And then we look at the motivators and see whether those are supporting or whether they're hindering.
Wow.
And then we can work from there at making sure that you've got a goal that's achievable and that actually will make you shine. You found your dream job, haven't you? We know you are so motivated, Trina.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I love, and actually we should all be able to do that.
Absolutely. And the funniest thing is, after I came off that call with you yesterday, I would show you it, but I've got like a whiteboard. And I just went to my whiteboard, looked at it and went, scrubbed it all off. And then went, what is it that I actually want to do? What do I want to, what are the things that are really kind of getting to me that I now think that's not me anymore, and just like scrubbed out my whole board and went, right, okay, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. Goodness. This is what I want in my life. And it was so, that's how powerful it is. That's how powerful this, your program is. I just think it's, I think it's truly valuable. That I wouldn't say that that I would think about having my clients do it.
No.
If I didn't think like it was so amazing.
Yeah.
And how powerful that it can be. And not only that, I mean, like when we were speaking yesterday, we were speaking about how you could actually put that into exercise. I mean, I know full well that values, for one, and belief are a massive thing that never gets covered in health. Massive. Especially, I teach when anyone's looking for a fitness program, look for something that's connected to your values. Because if you choose something and it's all athletic advertising and it's all almost aesthetically pleasing, but really deep down your values are family and more towards the line of love and family and care and all these kind of things, that advertising, that type of program may not even be for that person. So it is about connecting with yourself and knowing exactly what you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We ought to say, didn't we? We were meant to be recording this yesterday.
Yeah,
I think we spoke for about an hour and a half and then ran out of time.
We did. We did.
But yeah, we were talking about a really simple example of choosing the right exercise when that is motivating for you. So I think I gave you the example yesterday of running. If you really enjoy freedom and independence, you want to be able to run by yourself and run when you want to run and how you want to run. If you love being with friends and being surrounded by people, then actually you might want to run with 2 or 3 close friends so that you use it as a time for connection as well as exercise. If you're competitive, then actually you want to be in a running club so that you can have your figures and how quick you've done it, and you can go in for competitions while you're running, because actually that'll really motivate you. If you love making a difference, then actually you probably want to think about working towards doing a run where you can raise money and do some fundraising. And all of those things are doing the same thing, but it's mixing it and making sure that it's being done in a motivating way.
Wow. And that is so true, because, you know, I mean, we were actually discussing yesterday, I started discussing the government programme, giving out the 12-week programme, which is obviously free through the NHS. Now, obviously, I've been in the fitness industry now for over 10 years, and we've done, well, just under 10 years, but we've done this over and over again, the 12-week programme over and over again. And what we were saying yesterday when we were discussing this was that you're being asked to exercise, eat, and do whatever you can do to make sure you feel well while you're looking after your kids, while you're cooking, cleaning, looking after your husband. And same for men as well. You're going out to work, doing all these things. And it's very difficult to do all the things all at once. And sometimes as we were talking about, your motivators may not even be there. And then we were talking about small things, doing tiny things at once. Is it that you want to add some nutrition rather than taking away everything and feeling deprived? Do you want to add something to your life in small amount, smaller things to do?
And it's also about setting those really small goals.
Yes.
And actually writing down an action list every day. So it could just be to eat an apple, an orange and a banana, really simple things like that. But actually tick those things off a list and physically have a list of small things that you want to achieve every day. Because the other thing with that is it's thinking about how your brain works, some brain science. And actually, when we know that when you tick things that you've achieved off a list, then you get a boost of serotonin and dopamine. And actually that then gives you the impetus to do something else, whether it's to go for a 5-minute walk if you've only got 5 minutes, rather than sitting down and having a cup of coffee. Take your coffee with you and just go for a walk, whether it's 3 rounds round the garden or up to the nearest lamppost, rather than sitting down. But actually little things like that are much easier to achieve. And we know that actually, if you think about the staircase in a house, if you tried to go from the top to the bottom in one go, you couldn't do it just in one step. But if you actually go up the stairs one at a time, then you can get there, can't you?
Absolutely. You know what? It kind of reminds me of another thing that I was actually saying to someone else as well. Someone said to me, how does everyone kind of like save the environment? And I kind of said, well, the first thing is not for people to feel guilty about things, because when we feel guilty about things, sometimes we may rebel and want to do something completely different. It's having an understanding that when people make tiny steps, and this is what happens in health, when people make those tiny steps forward, and as you said, they feel good about themselves because they're making those tiny steps. Then they implement the next tiny step. Then they feel amazing about themselves. So they implement the next tiny step once it kind of gets flowing. And then everything starts to flow. And then people start to make then changes. They'll go, you know what? And this happened to me, by the way, as well. You know what? I'm going to walk into the supermarket today and I'm going to buy all the organic vegetables. And they go and buy all the organic vegetables. Because sometimes people aren't in that mindset to begin with. It actually comes by taking steps for many people to feel, to feel that kind of motivation to move forward. Then they make different choices on different things. Because there's so much stuff going on in people's lives already.
Yeah. And actually, if you think about the whole person, I don't think we can suddenly decide to change one area without actually being motivated. And if we understand more about our motivation, then actually making those changes becomes much easier, because you can think, how can I do this in a way that's going to motivate me?
Absolutely. And it's so beautiful how the motivators come into this as well. Because many people are motivated by the way that they feel. Many other people are motivated by what they're achieving. And that then really sinks nicely into doing the motivational map and then seeing exactly where you are. Because, even seeing my own motivational map, I can now see how I'm a director, because I do like kind of, I take it recognition would come in that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That makes total sense on my part. Because, but also at the same time, I can also see how I'm literally I can see how it kind of all comes together now. I can see how I get competitive when it comes to exercise. But not against other people. It's my own competitiveness. How fast can I go? How far can I go to beat my last record last time?
And actually, you made an interesting point earlier when you said it's a quiz. Well, actually, the questionnaire that you fill in is online. And I'm sure lots of listeners will have done psychometric tests. But the difference here is psychometric tests are all about our personality. And our personality is really interesting to find out about it. But that's not what gets us up in the morning. It's our motivation that gets us up in the morning. And actually, if we all know the difference between waking up and really looking forward to what we're going to get out of bed for, and when we're sort of really not looking forward to doing something. And that energy is so crucial to achieve anything. And actually, when we're motivated, what I know 4 or 5 years ago, is we learn faster. So for our children, it's so important. We're more creative. And actually, our mental health is so related to our levels of motivation. So if we can understand which motivators are important to us but aren't being met, then again, we can make simple tweaks. Nothing here is rocket science. Nothing here is going to cost a fortune to implement. It's about making simple tweaks that actually will really improve not only our lives, but the lives of people around us. Because actually, we spoke yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah.
About the different language that we all use.
Absolutely.
It does impact so many things.
It does, and the language that we use, and especially, if you've been brought up in a household where people shout at each other all the time and don't know how to communicate in the way that they want to communicate. And it might even be, I'm going to say what actually came up for me over my own language and communication, because it takes time to change language. It really does. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to understand how you're feeling inside. Now, I had a lot of anger inside me, and I didn't realize why I had this anger and where this anger kind of like came from. But every time my kids would be like running around screaming, and going crazy, I felt this anger, and I was like shouting at them, and one might get hurt, and then I get really cross. And one day I kind of just sat there and went, don't get angry. And I could feel this kind of something wanted to kind of like boil over and just come out. And I thought, just leave it. And then all of a sudden I burst out crying, and I was like, I just don't want him to die. Don't want him to die. And I didn't realize that there have been 2 moments in my life where people have lost children, and I'd took on those kind of emotions. And I didn't realize that was a fear that was obviously hidden under the anger, and that when that came up, it allowed me to speak differently to my children and kind of step back a little bit. Especially, obviously, it's all a work in progress. All of it, is. It doesn't change overnight. And that's what I really want to reiterate to people who are watching this. Doing anything, changing anything about the way, about what we've been taught, what we've been brought up with, takes a little bit of time. But it's so beautiful that you can understand yourself. Like if you understand your motivators, like what Sarah does, how beautiful is that you can read something and then go, oh, that's why that didn't work. Oh, that's why that's work. That's why I love that. That's why I love that. I'm going to go back to that, and I'm going to go do that. And you start to then realize that's what I love, and that's why I loved it in the first place. And yeah, I just think you doing your, I tell you what, you doing your motivators has been a godsend, that's for sure, because obviously it's created all this.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. And it's so, because I work as well as in one-to-one coaching. I work with organisations, with teams, because if we understand each other, if we're working within a team, there's a really simple calculation. And if you think, if you've got skills that say 9 out of 10, so you've got nearly all the skills that you need, but your motivation is only 5 out of 10, then if you do 9 times 5, you're only 45% motivated. Now, if you're running an organisation or supporting your team, just think what they're going to achieve if they're 60, 70, 80% motivated rather than 45. And really simple things you can do as a line manager to support your team. It doesn't even cost you lots of money to make these changes. And I was doing a team map with an organisation before lockdown, and there was only one member of a team of 7 who actually really went to work for friendship and relationships. That doesn't mean that the rest of the team weren't friendly and lovely, but they were there to make a difference and to get the job done.
Yeah.
And so they all were saying, well, actually, yeah, we need to make sure that we talk to Tony and we say, oh, how was your weekend? Because that's really important for him.
Yes.
And actually, when people were coming in and just getting on with their work and not really showing an interest, that was really affecting his motivation.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that we've got to sit and chat and do everything, but if I'm his line manager and I just say, oh, tell me what have you been doing, did you have a nice evening? It doesn't take me 2 minutes, and actually that can make a real impact on their motivation.
Absolutely. And funnily enough, I was listening, well, when we had that chat yesterday, just having those different kind of conversations make a huge difference. Giving someone the choice whether they want to do something, which you mentioned is, for someone who's a spirit. And then, obviously you mentioned using someone's name, if they really value friendship.
Yeah.
And then obviously there are other ones as well, which is so fabulous. It's amazing how then you can integrate those other motivators, and change things a little bit.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned GCSE yesterday when we were talking, how you can talk to someone differently whose motivators aren't the expert, but allow them to become, allow them to feel motivated that way.
Yeah. So it's about being able to use the right language. So in that example, it was with your children to enable them to achieve whatever they can achieve, because we often assume that our children are motivated in the same way as us, and it's very often not the case. And we spoke about, I did some work with a young a parent and her daughter, and it turned out that 2 of her big motivators were learning and friendship. So actually, over the summer holidays, we set her a task of really developing an expertise around a certain topic area, and then getting all her friends, this was before lockdown, but getting all her friends to come, and she taught them for the day at the end of the holidays. So she passed on all that learning and had a day with her friends, which was amazing. And that's probably not something that you would think about doing naturally, but actually that was really good for her.
That is fabulous. It kind of really opens up how it really fits with kids, not just kids, with businesses, as you mentioned, with obviously us as adults, with us who are in business. It fits with everyone. It fits with everyone for finding out their motivators. So where can everyone find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, and my website is, you probably can't see it actually, can you? Because the sun's shining on the bottom of my banner. But it's www.plainsailingmotivation.co.uk.
Perfect. So you can find Sarah on LinkedIn, so Sarah Stones, or you can find her at www.plainsailingmotivation.co.uk, wasn't it?
Yeah, or Facebook or Twitter as well, actually, but yeah.
But what I'll do is I'll make sure that there are links popped up on this anyway, so then you can click the links. But I just want to thank everyone for watching this today. The next video that goes out is the fabulous Jasvinder, who's talking about unblocking yourself. She is a phenomenal psychotherapist, but she is also a healer, just a wonderment, has so many tools under her belt. So I'm really, really, really excited to have her on for our next chat. So thank you very much, Sarah. You've been absolutely amazing. Thank you.